Okay.
Hyped.
I will turn on. So someone go check if the stream is running.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, my man. Shivagadir.
Oh no, it's on
Oh,
Chekhov.
sorry. Chekhov squares. Chekhov squares. Chekhov squares is live.
I've been watching Critical Role.
I don't see a screenshot.
Which one?
Oh, but it
Campaign
might.
three.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Campaign one. Campaign one started.
But can you hear us?
all good, yes.
In that session.
You can.
Just because I saw the Amazon show, I
Right.
didn't know it was about them.
Right.
Any
And
announcement?
then I was like, I quite.
Yep,
it's
can.
watchable. Yeah.
Mighty Nine.
No. What's my
Nasir, chat.
Huh?
You type something in chat. The YouTube chat.
What is the delay? That is the real question.
I have no idea.
Maybe 2 minutes? No, the 1 minute, 30 seconds.
Okay.
Does it show up on screen?
Is that right? Oh, is that a? Oh, damn. We have chat, guys. We have
Where?
live chat.
Oh, wow. Whoa.
Ship is becoming.
Truly a streaming level, wow. The streamer.
Next time I'll have the frame.
Slow down.
We need YouTube link.
Oh.
I have it. Okay. I should put it on. Yeah, just put it on chill.
Hey, if they don't subscribe,
Is
we
this
don't
Chekhov
get.
squares?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I should go subscribe.
I'm not subscribed.
Surprise.
Okay. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe.
Is
Dude,
it
best
spacey?
part is I sent like the ownership of the channel to like all of y'all. This man accepted the second I sent it. Aru accepted the next day. I think Abhinav also did. This man.
Receive the notification.
I think Nasir didn't accept.
No, Nasir accepted right off I sent it.
I didn't even receive the notification. What email? Technical knowledge background required or should I?
Oh, there's. It's.
Can you send
Should
it?
I say slightly technical stuff?
Somebody.
Yeah. You need to have coded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You sent it to me in Thunder and Menace, is it?
I think so.
Did you migrate emails?
No, I didn't receive notification. No, you didn't send it to the right email again.
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
I see the bottom line is the chat.
Yeah. I will
There were two
recess.
messages, yeah.
Wait, I just sent a hello.
It's okay, Shiv. It'll start going on.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sent the link.
Oh yeah, I see it. Let's go.
We'll start.
Let's go.
Here you go. Here you go.
Spoilers. Okay, let's start.
Go for it.
Okay, so today's sharing is going to be about this magical 3 letters OOP. So it's basically going to be about topics I don't like about OOP with some code examples and how I think you can make your code better. So the reason I'm speaking about this is because I've been in 2 companies and 4 teams, and I've read through a lot of code, and a lot of it has angered me, and a lot of it hasn't angered me. So today I'll be talking about the code that has angered me and what I think can be done to make it better. I mean, I can't just go change it and raise PRs because it's kind of passive aggressive. So yeah. So today's presentation is mostly going to be my opinions on what I think should not be done, because like when you're going through code, you don't want to like basically go to definition 5 times to understand what one component is doing. So yeah, so that's basically where I got this idea from, and I found out that a lot of times where the toughest time I've had doing code traces is when there are a lot of these OOP concepts and things I think you should avoid.
I understand where
is a common consensus among us. So it's just me writing it down and sharing. So yeah, a lot of opinions are coming, and yeah. So one thing we don't want to see when we're doing our normal code traces is 1,820 line files. We don't want to see a class that extends a class, then another class that extends the same class. Because when this happens, you're going to be like, control click, then go to that, control click, go to that, and then there'll be, oh, there's another control click, and then at that point you're like, there is no point. So if you change the base class, what happens is you change everything, and then if you change everything, there'll be like ifs and else's everywhere. So yeah, this is where my hatred stems from. Yeah. So we also will see changes where refactoring is done that removes 4,000 lines and removes 1,000 lines. Please don't create pull requests like this unless you really have to. We will see cases where features are reverted and then they're reverted back because of a data issue, which was not because of the feature. So
Are these screenshots from your work?
no one sees it. Within like 1 hour.
Right.
So yeah, please don't do this. So maybe we can take a look back at OOP and the roots where it stems from. If we look at our universities, I'm pretty sure people who did computer science would have had one OOP class in
School as well.
Java. Yeah, in school also we would have had one class in C++. Yeah. I think in universities they teach you OOP because it's used everywhere, and they want you to know it before you go there. So while in universities they make you do these things called UML diagrams.
No.
So okay, fine. I think in university they do that. So one thing I feel about UML diagrams is if you need to make a UML diagram for your code is bad. So yeah, that's just again feeling. So somebody in an interview is like, "Oh, I'll write a UML diagram for that." And I'm like, "No, rejected." But yeah, so if you look back a little bit about the history on why OOP dominated the industry, a lot of people felt that managers wanted to create programmers who could just come in and come out. So there were like two paradigms: procedural and OOP, which were being implemented. OOP was a little more cookie cutter, so you could just have one guy come in and then go out, and then they would probably understand it better. And that's what led to OOP and like all the massive boilerplate. Yeah.
That AI generated.
No, going on. So all the images here are
Yeah, including the Java.
except for Java. So yeah, so another reason why OOP dominated the industry is because of Java.
Wow.
When you have C, C++, they basically couldn't run on every like operating system because like they had like assemblers that were unique to the operating system. But Java introduced this thing called JVM that let you run it everywhere. And Java's syntax is very class based and object oriented. So that's something that a lot of programmers take to other languages also. So they learn from Java and move there. So one thing that I hate about Java is getters and setters. Why would you make all your variables private and just return the same variable as a getter? Why would you have setters? Why can't you just do object dot variable equal to this? It's not that hard. But I know they had some weird null values and all, but just get better. Don't do this. Like yeah, this is like it's 5 variables and then like the getters and setters are like 100 lines. It just makes code very unreadable. Don't do this. Yeah. And also don't use underscores for private variables. That's unnecessary. Private variables are already not accessible outside. So we can start getting into the presentations of what I genuinely hate about object-oriented programming and encapsulation and everything. So if you take a look at this code example, can you guys find one flaw about it?
I can't read it.
This one. We can.
Yes, compose.
What makes it non-extensible? map thing, assume it has a very complicated function, which is not this one. Yeah.
So ideally, you will want the data object to not be a dictionary because it has a structure.
Yeah, every time you want to add a new field, you have to add it in every function.
Yeah, so you will want.
Yeah. So there are many flaws. So I think the one I was looking for is you'll always have to call process data before store data.
Mm.
And the reason is because this dot temp data is being assigned in process data, and then this dot temp data is being called in
I
this
didn't
one.
even realize that because of how much code there is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's but yeah, so this is what I call this problem. So when you have bigger and bigger code, like you run into you can see a lot of code where processing is done like this, where they just update this and then like basically I love so unless I know where the process function is called, I will not know I will not know that the value raw data has already been pre-filled. Unless the store data function is called, I will not know that the value temp data is already being pre-filled. So a lot of the implementation here, like a lot of the function definition is very reliant on the implementation of the function. So it's basically, if you think about it, just updating a global variable. If you just think about the class, it's just like doing global variable stuff. So how would you fix this? So one way that I thought of fixing it would be to just have a simple function called process data and then store data, and then you have the input here and then a return value here, and input here and a return value here. The reason I feel this is better is because if you have like a function and you just have like an input and an output, you know that this is the input, this is the output, and then you will always know that temp data has to be passed into the input, and then the output is gotten from the temp data, and then like anywhere you call this function, you know that this is the input, this is the output. You don't have to worry. You don't have to structure your code definition based on the implementation. So this is what I call this problem, and then I run into this in many places, and yeah, this is the first one.
Wait, sorry. If you go back one slide, do people even do this? Like use.
This is a very simplified example.
No, but a function A, you initialize a variable, right? And then on function B, you just have the the variables that you call that you use inside, like how you did on the second picture. Right? On the second picture, you had an input and output, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that the way to do it? Would anyone even, because temp data in this case is like initialized based on like.
So this is a very simplified version of code.
I see.
So once you have,
Is there any use case for this where you can't just put it inside the function like of
this
variable
is like an OOP kind of example where you do it through OOP. So you assume that this class indexing object has all the required information regarding it. So so like if you have objects and you're creating objects and then you do object dot process data, then object dot store data, you run into this issue. You get what this is genuinely a way
This
of
is something common in like object oriented things.
Yeah. This is how I would recommend you do it. This is how I've seen a lot of code
I see.
using it.
Okay, this is
Because this is why I call it this problem. Yeah.
this dot.
Yeah. And what I would recommend is
To have an input output when you call the function.
yeah, but then you also don't want super big inputs, super big outputs. So you can use data structs for that. That's something a lot of people do. And then in Java you can do it, JavaScript you can do it pretty well. But yeah, this basically the idea is you always have to call this dot process data before this dot store
Yeah.
data. I mean you want to do that here also, but here the compiler is telling you that you want to do it. But here you have to read the code and say that you're doing it. So that's the one difference between these two.
Right, that's a good way to debug.
Yeah. So yeah. So one thing is you can't just refactor this because it might break something. So you have to consider writing it and starting before moving on. Then the next thing is my baby inheritance. Never use inheritance. use composition and like all the interface things. It makes code a little better because when you have inheritance, like I know all these functions are in this, all these classes are in the same file, but like again, from a software archaeology perspective, like that's a term I'm coining. Maybe it's been coined already, but you when you have classes and then you have this and then you're like, oh, what does pre-process do? I'm sure there's nothing going on behind pre-process. Then you hit GD or you control click this and go to abstract search, and then you'll be like, oh, it's an abstract process, interesting. And then you'll be like, oh, there's this search, and then you do this. So there's a lot of hopping back and forth from the code. And then I feel like inheritance is the reason why UML classes are introduced, because nobody wants to control click, control click, control click. So even Java has realized that inheritance is not good, so they don't allow multi-level inheritance. So you can only do one level of inheritance in Java. JavaScript, I don't know. They're like yeah. So I guess so if you look at the first two classes, they pretty much use inheritance to what it needs to be used. But the third class realized that, oh, we need to do some post processing and let's say some different libraries maintaining abstract search. That library is not your library. So one way you can solve this post-processing issue is by extending advanced search, and then every time you do search, you have to call this super.search. Again, don't use the super keyword. That's also syntactically non-sugar. So you do this return result.map item thing because that's the post-processing it needs to do. Because you want to keep the interface the same across all objects. So like if you have all this code in your own code base, it makes sense to be like, oh, it's okay. But if you are using a library and then the library is using it, that's where you have the problem, because you can't just git commit into that library. So a lot of people say don't use inheritance and use composition instead of inheritance, and this is mostly why you just can't. It just creates very coupled code with the original implementation. So there is this thing you can do in object-oriented programming. This is called a template design pattern. It's where you have a lot of hidden flows. So if you look at this abstract class, there are three processes. So these three functions need to be defined in all the concrete implementations. So, and then let's say there's this flow class, which is the way you're supposed to call the things inside this. So the process query will do this dot process. I think the code here is very explanatory, and so basic flow and advanced flow just do implementations for these functions. So one thing about this is, again, all these are in different files, all these are in different things. So when you control click this, go to the base class, and then you see it, you'll be like, oh, okay, they're trying to do a lot of like they're doing a lot of code abstraction, and they're trying to make the code very simple because it's used everywhere. And I think that is a good idea, but I think it can be done. This is one of my this is like a nitpick of mine. I think that it can be done in a little better way. And then the better way is I think it's called a strategy pattern, and it uses interfaces. So you have an interface which is a search strategy, and then you be like, there's a search, there's a pre-process, there's a post-process, and then you have a function called search flow. So the reason I think this is better than the previous one is because this one I just feel like it couples the functions and the flow together a lot, but this one I feel like it's a little more separate. And then here you also, like, whenever you just hover over like search strategy, you can just see, oh, I need this, and this, and then you just have to make like small objects with that, and then you can use this. So always use this over this one. I've seen this only used like once or twice, but I feel like this is a little better because it's a little separate, and then it's also more Rust-like, which I like. So yeah. And I think this is the final thing that I hate about OOP. I didn't even want to write code for this, so I made ChatGPT generate code for this. So these are singletons. So the worst word in a singleton is static. because once you have so the idea of a singleton is you have one object for that class that you use everywhere. So the main so the thing is you have this private static database singleton instance. So what this does is maybe let's go from the start. So you make the constructor private so that you can never create an object for a singleton. You always only have to do this. So sometimes you have a setup function, but you can also just have this get instance function. So what this get instance function does is it will do database do it. So instance means this dot instance. So it'll do this dot instance is equal to new database singleton. So if there is no value in this function already, like in this variable already, it will create a new singleton variable. So you can do database singleton dot get instance, and then it will give you the one and only object value in the entire program. So the issue with this is like the static variables. So like you'll never know which. So you'll never know which value like basically singleton dot get instance dot value, or you'll never know if it's singleton dot value. Like that's one issue that you run into a lot. So
I don't follow. What
so
do you mean?
so basically you can have private static members, then you can have non-static members. So you can have private val A, private val B, private val C. So if you have private val A, you do you do singleton dot instance dot val A, singleton dot instance dot val B. But if you don't have, but if you have the static keyword, you do singleton dot val A. You get that? So in a lot of the functions, a lot of this is used very interchangeably. Like in an ideal way, you don't want to have any static values other than the instance in a singleton. That's like the ideal thing. But like if someone writes a lot of code, they're not going to be checking for it, especially if it works. So the only thing you can rely on is for your like language server to be like, oh, there's an issue here, let's not do it. So yeah, the static word is it also makes it very bad because singletons are not garbage collected. So if you have like an array in a singleton, the array will just keep expanding as your program goes, and then your API can crash. So I mean, but it's kind of like the only solution to write code and make an object that only exists once in a program. So this is also another example of a caching singleton, and then that's how you make the singletons in like the main. This is a Java. This is Java, not JavaScript. But yeah, and so the approach I prefer over using a singleton is to use this context-based approach, where you pass in. You just create one single object for a database, and then you pass it in a context. So if you look at this constructor, you pass it in through the constructor, and then the reason this is better is because you can avoid using static. So if you think that you'll have to keep doing like multiple variable passes over and over again, usually the convention is to define like a global context variable. So you define what all singletons can be used there, and then you just initialize that once, and then you can pass it in whenever it's needed. So this is how I would recommend doing it, because you can just avoid using static and causing all the confusion. And yeah, that's it for my presentation. Do you all have any questions?
I don't think this was hate for OP.
I think it was
You're
improving
using
it.
OP concepts to solve
Yeah.
a lot of the problems you introduce.
Yeah. It's not OOP concepts, it's just using classes.
Indeed.
It's OOP would be okay, fine, maybe the it's just clickbait.
It's a love for OOP.
No, it's a why OOP, how OOP is done wrong.
Yeah.
That's
So-
That's
Yeah.
So can you go back a few slides to the composition one?
I should have generated an example for the composition one. This one. Right?
This one, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so here,
Use composition of inheritance, right?
yes, how would you use composition instead? So which part would you extract out to?
Probably just have like if the pre-processing logic is more complicated, have a pre-processing class.
Have a separate pre-process class, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
That's one way I would do it.
And then also have a separate search class in case it can be overridden as well.
The search class will be inherent. It will be implemented in the basic searches itself. Yeah. Like you can have a default. You can just have like maybe a default function that does search. And
So basically, again, here in the abstract search, you will have a pointer to an interface object that can be anything that implements preprocess.
yeah, as a member.
Yeah.
That's constant.
Mm.
Don't let it be overwritten.
Hey guys, a quick picture.
It's being recorded, Sundar. Just come here. Come here, Sundar.
In the house. In this house. Chekhov's. Very nice. I like it.
Yeah. So
So yeah.
hopefully you guys.
Yeah, I don't know Java as a programming language, but I
Also-
understood some of the issues.
But moving away from singletons,
The context based.
kind of.
So another thing
doing
is right.
dependency injection.
Same thing.
Version.
So
Same thing. This
let's
is
say
this
there's
is literally dependent.
Yeah.
Mm.
The
let's say there's like 5 levels. Okay, so from a widget point of view, let's say there are 5 levels.
Edition first.
And the topmost level has access to the context. The bottommost level currently doesn't. And you need the context only in the bottommost level and not in the middle 3 levels. If you don't have the singleton based approach, you need to go back and add pass context into every intermediate.
That's if you manually implement your context solutions. There's this library I used to use called Camel in Java that just does it.
Wait, what is
You
your
just-
question again, Arun?
So let's say that you have a widget tree, right? So there are top level widget, sub widget, sub child widget, of the child widget, grandchild, grandchild widget, and everything. Top level widget has anything that you show. on
There are
screen.
5 classes, let's say.
Okay.
Anything that you show on screen. The
You
entire
mean like in
screen.
a front end?
Yeah, in a
Okay.
front end.
Okay.
I see, like, what is this?
Yeah, I was like, what is this? I haven't heard of this.
So
Yeah.
your top level widget has access to the entire context. I mean, has access
Yeah,
to
yeah.
the context object.
Yeah.
And now your bottommost, the greatest grandchild widget also needs access to the context widget.
I gotta leave, boys.
Now we need
Thanks
to
for
pass it.
Bye, Sundar.
We need to pass it in at every level for it to be able to access it at the bottommost.
I've seen these magical context libraries just take care of everything.
No, that's but still the first argument should always be to every function must be context, right? Similar to a few libraries that I've seen.
If you're using like React now, they have this use context hook that takes care of everything. If you're using Vue, there's also some use, and it magically will be like, oh, I want this. Probably some global stuff only, but
So does that not just grow the stack? Because every time you're calling a function, you're passing that context. And
But you aren't passing the context, you're passing a pointer to the context.
Yeah, so is there pointers in JavaScript?
yes,
There is? I haven't used JavaScript.
JavaScript is you don't know what is in JavaScript. It's reference, it's point, everything. Of course, there's pointers in every programming language.
Yeah, but like Python and all.
Like it's not you can't explicitly
I know,
say
I
it.
know.
You have to implicitly.
So it is implicit in JavaScript,
Yeah,
right? So when does it decide to use pointers versus value?
That is up to the compiler. That is not up to me.
So yeah.
You when
In
you do,
Python, you always
no, everything is
pass
a
the-
reference.
Everything is a
I
reference.
see.
In Python, if you explicitly copy, create a separate copy on the heap and still pass by reference.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When you do the clone operation, it makes a new reference.
Yeah.
That's
I see.
But not to the same object. It makes a new object and then it.
that's what I mean. Yeah.
It makes
To the new
With
object.
explicitly passing pointers and values.
You can only pass pointers. Unless it's base steps like.
We don't do all the pointers and
I
stuff.
see.
That's how you make mistakes. always clone me.
Love. Love mouth.
I think the
Writing UI code is painful.
it's so much
Maybe
fun,
doing
dude. What are you
front-end.
saying?
I mean, I do both.
It's so much fun, dude. I love it.
Not traditional backend work. So
Mhm.
we have logic,
Hmm.
we have business logic,
Mm-hmm.
and then we have the UI for it.
Right.
Business logic is what.
Isn't it fun?
I need to do more front end. I want to do more front end.
You should
It's
do the,
not-
I
it's
want
not
to go
work
back
front end.
into coding.
you should do the thing now, see, splitwise coding.
I actually wanna.
Hey, next week we'll do that sharing.
What?
I was going to do it
This
week.
wise?
Yeah. We'll bring in reinforcements. We'll
Yeah, yeah.
make plan. We will
We
do
just
the
need
sharing.
a designer.
That also will get done.
Are you a designer?
I'm not a designer. I'm going to. I was looking at Figma tutorials. I was like, you don't
It was
need.
so complicated. Dude.
I think making it good is hard.
Yeah, there's a thing.
Just
though.
making it is doable.
I think we know people who
There's a
can
React-
do aesthetics.
That'll be 2 million tools.
No. I know.
Yeah.
There's a framework you only were using. Not a framework.
Storybook.
Components template. What is it called?
A lot of
Material-
libraries.
material
Material UI. There's a lot
You
of.
guys are using material UI, right? So
You're
each
using
each.
every one.
I've used everything, dude.
Right. So
So
each.
3 people in our team are using different ones for
I've used-
that.
Yeah, I used
Sudesh
ad
is
design. Sudesh used material UI.
No, I think she's using that wind thing. What is that wind?
Tailwind.
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 Yeah.
And then what you using material?
I think I was just using raw CSS. We'll keep it simple. Use raw CSS.
So each this component template thingy has its own Figma template.
Interesting.
So you can use that to design your app, and then it's easy to implement if you know what template you're using.
There's also like a system behind it.
This is
It's a framework, and then there's a framework in the framework.
what do you mean?
React is a framework. There's
Yeah.
a framework for materials.
There's a framework for material.
Material is
Yeah,
a framework.
material is a framework.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So because
I thought it's just implemented components.
no, you can style those components.
Yeah, but that's also like simple enough in implementation, right? It's not. I apologize.
I wish.
Not from what I understood.
Dude,
Not from-
there was something called Storybook or something along those lines for React where you could just like create one drag and drop UI and then it would
There'll be 2 million products for this. You want to be like, oh, let's put AI in it now.
and then like it was like a scratch drag and drop UI and then it would generate out all the React styles and I was like, oh. I tried using it. It created some 3,000 files and I was like, goodbye, I'm out.
Dude.
Splitwise app 40 GB.
It'll be smaller than my production app, right?
I still don't understand the logic from using the logic, dude.
So I think genuinely need the Splitwise app.
I'm done.
It's
It's getting annoying.
yeah, Splitwise right now is I want to move away. I'm not willing to pay them.
I would rather pay myself to have it.
I'd rather set up my own infrastructure, create it from scratch.
Actually, because there's value in like learning from doing that.
No,
We're all on board.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I really want to do it. I just want to do the infra, nothing
So
else.
the first two things, right? The first two transactions you can log. Third transaction you need to wait to log,
Yeah.
and then the fourth
Yeah,
transaction
you
you cannot log.
Yeah.
In Splitwise.
Yeah.
Per day, is it?
Per day.
What is this? What is this fucking?
No, but I understand because they probably have
The
server costs.
server, yes, the server cost.
They shouldn't run ads.
Yeah, that's true. They should just run ads.
I would prefer ads over this.
I would prefer ads.
And people gladly would.
Yeah.
Dude,
They should have this.
I think people now search for ads, dude. Now that most people have like some premium account and everything, they don't see ads. So when they see an ad, they're like, oh. Wow.
I would rather get a premium account with capacity than a premium account for this.
Dude, yeah.
I think we have a plan, guys. I think we have a plan. We run ads and we give them the option.
That's actually a really good idea. I mean, that's what YouTube does, right?
It doesn't give you.
No, it makes sense because you can't just take away functionality and be like it's behind a paywall. You can be like it's little inconvenient by having ads, and then you can remove the inconvenience with a paywall.
It's also it's what Twitter did, right?
And then
He did some fucking rate limiting for tweets, bro, to prevent bots. They were like, oh, we're going to paywall this feature, and even when you paid it, you couldn't get the full thing, dude.
I think it's definitely a bad idea to just remove features.
Yeah. Hey, this is what Tesla also does. Oh, similar guy.
No, but Tesla, they're making new features.
Oh, but like a lot of features are like if they're not hardware based, they're just software based, and then it goes like a pricing system. And if you buy it upfront, it's cheaper. So like you have to put up a very lump sum.
That's true. I get what you're saying.
So like I don't know. I don't think they should paywall like all the features.
I agree.
Right. But I think they did this. I mean, I think Splitwise is a big enough company that they'll have business discussions on should we do that. I think ads might not be giving them enough money to sustain. Maybe
Yeah,
doing
they might have to.
subscription base
Yeah.
was the only way to do it.
So there's another thing. I feel like they should have a mid tier. I would be okay to pay them like 50 cents or $1 a month for
It's
10
$3.
transactions. Yeah, something like that. For like 10 transactions a day, I would be completely okay with that. But I feel like the $30 a year label that they're putting on it, at least mentally, feels like quite a bit for just a transaction.
That's true. That's true.
Because I know for a fact that posting that for one person won't be $30.
Unless they have some very unoptimized infra.
It was probably a hackathon. They made it. They were like,
I really want to do this.
It's a good idea. I think there's a lot of
I'll-
good things to implement. Would love to do the simplify splits.
the simplified.
Simplify
splits,
Let's
the-
start
the-
with the MVP
Yeah,
machine.
the OCR to read every bill and just.
Dude, so a good idea is that so like you do OCR to read every bill and then Raksa's Excel sheet you get individually on your phone.
Yeah.
Basically you get the bill and then you can click what
Click,
you
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. When was the last time I was excited to
Some
code?
good ideas.
Dude, I haven't built a feature in 6 months at my company.
Dude, I haven't same coded in
a year.
What do you mean you haven't built a feature?
I'm just doing code migration,
Yeah.
Haru.
I'm also doing code migrations, I'm doing maintenance, some boring ass shit. That's why I want to move teams.
Dude, I'm so excited. In 2 weeks, I start coding again at my job.
So we're doing, so the whole, there's a
my
huge
shot.
migration where we're moving away from like all singleton patterns and then doing. It's actually good. So I was reading a lot of documentation.
It's
on
very bad for
different
multi-threading also.
Singletons.
Unless you have, because it's all mutex law.
To mutate
Singletons
that.
are mutex law.
You have to lock single.
I mean, if it's a read-only, it's fine.
Oh yeah, for us we have major read-write nodes, dude. Dude, the new architecture, they were like, okay, we'll stop using our so we have like a hospital database and a MongoDB. There's an ETL pipeline between those two. They were like, okay, because we'll go to different hospitals, they'll just have to make a new ETL. I like that idea. Now they're like, oh, let's directly hit the Sybase and just drop MongoDB. You guys have 1 week to finish the entire thing.
Wow.
And then